For more now on this and much more, joining us now, Democratic member of the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. He's a U.S. Army veteran who served our country in both Iraq and Afghanistan. So from your many perspective, including the committees that you sit on, what do you make of this prisoner swap from what we know so far?
Well, good morning. I mean, this prisoner swap is actually a good deal for the United States. Number one, we don't leave our people behind. We just don't. Every administration has done swaps like this to make sure we're getting U.S. citizens out of Iran. Iran does this. They take hostages and they try to gain leverage. So, every American should know, don't travel to Iran because you are at risk of being taken hostage. But there's also, we have to correct a misunderstanding here. These funds were not frozen funds. The United States is not making this money available. This money came from a fund that the prior administration, that the Trump administration negotiated with several countries that allowed them to purchase Iranian oil in exchange for medical supplies and food and medicine. South Korea, in this instance, did that. They purchased some oil, and that money was allocated to food, medicine, and medical supplies. This money could be spent or could be sent to Iran today. The South Koreans could do that. We were able to negotiate additional restrictions on top of the restrictions already in place for this money, additional restrictions and oversight through the Treasury Department to make sure this money is only being spent for those purposes. So this deal actually created additional oversight on that money, not less.
So, Congressman, let's turn to the House of Representatives right now, which is expecting to have a pretty tumultuous couple of weeks ahead. There's only a few days left before the government funding runs out. There was Republicans did pass a continuing resolution last night on their side of it, but there's no Ukraine relief, there's no disaster relief. It certainly doesn't seem like even if it gets to the House, it could have any shot to get through the Senate. So talk to us about where things stand about the prospect of a government shutdown and how that's linked also to this impeachment inquiry.
Well, the prospects are high. I think there's better than a 50% chance that there is a government shutdown because this is the world that Kevin McCarthy has created for himself. He's bargained away all of his power. He's given the ability for the so-called House Freedom Caucus, which is the caucus of the far-right extreme of the Republican conference. Any one of those members can call what's called a motion to vacate, to remove the speaker from the speaker's chair. And now he's trying to placate them. He's trying to come up with some type of deal, but you cannot deal with people whose goal it is to destroy, to tear down, and to have a shutdown. That is actually their stated goal. So I don't know how he gets out of this.
Congressman, if they do go forward and say they want to recall him as the speaker or remove him as speaker, is it a possibility that we would see him do what was done, get Democratic votes to keep him in as speakers? And then what would the cost be on the Democratic side for Hakeem Jeffries and the leadership to say, we'll give you some votes, but we want this in terms of what we agreed to in terms of releasing the budget?
Well, it really would be something, Reverend, if he would have to come to the Democrats once again to govern, right? Democrats govern. We lead. We actually do the work of bringing, good things to the American people. And McCarthy has created a situation where he might need Democratic votes to actually govern and get anything done. As far as I know, he hasn't come to Democrats to do that yet. He should actually come to us with a good faith agreement, a good faith offer to fund the government, and that would include disaster relief for states, including red states, by the way. We don't care whether it's a red state or a blue state. We actually want to give relief to people and we want to govern. That is our policy. That is the right thing to do. And there are several states in the South in particular that need this aid desperately. So disaster relief, Ukraine aid, and making sure that we don't shut down, because shutdown would actually cost the American people tens of billions of dollars. And it's just untenable.
Congressman, can I just get your take quickly before you go on something we've been talking about on and off all morning, and that is the question of age. We've seen the tape of Donald Trump seeming to think that he was running against Barack Obama, thinking we're about to go into World War II. We've seen all of the polling showing that Americans are concerned about Joe Biden's age as well. When it comes to President Biden, and thinking of what David Ignatius, our colleague, wrote last week, suggesting that it wasn't the moment for President Biden to run for a second term, where do you stand on the president's age and on the age of those senior politicians more generally?
I think it's wrong to look at age. I think we should look at capacity. I think we should look at acuity. I think we should look at leadership. Last year was the most legislatively successful year since the 1960s Great Society legislation of Lyndon Johnson. We passed 6 major pieces of legislation under the leadership of Joe Biden. Why don't we talk about the capacity of Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene? I'm far more concerned, frankly, about their mental capacity and whether or not they're on the level than older elected officials. So we should let the voters decide about who's performing and who's not. And certainly President Biden is performing remarkably.
Fair enough. Congressman Jason Crow, thank you very much for being on the show this morning. We appreciate it.